back up and say.
Alright, audio's live.
Okay. Let me just make sure we're now live. Alright, cool. Should I wait a couple seconds just for people to hop on and we're good?
No, go for
Good.
it.
Alright, hello everyone. So today we're going to do another meal prep live. This week I'm doing Japanese sweet potato, cauliflower, broccoli, and chicken tenders baked. And the cool thing about this week is everything is in the oven and it's going to be baked at the same temperature. We're also going to talk about our experiences with food in the past, like our relationship, how it was, if it was good, it was bad, but yeah, so I'm going to start. So the chicken tenders I have sprayed with the E-Cleaner poultry spray that I use. I'll show you guys. So it's this. See that? So I sprayed them down, and it's been about maybe 5 minutes. You can do just 2 minutes, that's fine. And I'm just gonna rinse them off and then pat them dry. Alright, so they're rinsed. Now I'm just going to pat them dry with a paper towel. And I have a mixture that I'm going to first put in eggs, and then I'm going to dip it in. It's panko breadcrumbs, onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, parsley, and pepper. And as always, if any of you have any questions, you can ask. Dan and my sister are here with me in the background. As always.
Also, just a quick side note for everybody who's currently hanging out. If you're watching on our Facebook live stream, for some reason we seem to be dropping a lot of frames there, so it's definitely not going to be a lot of fun for you to watch, but on YouTube and Twitch, where we are also live and we have our super cool overlay set up, we are not dropping any frames, so definitely head on over there if you're having trouble viewing the stream.
Alright, so just patting the chicken dry, almost done. Alright. Okay, so the chicken is pretty much done. And the oven is also preheat. It's already heated up to 400. Alright, I'm going to spray down, so I'm doing baked broccoli and cauliflower, and I'm going to use the E-Cleaner fruit and veggie wash. So I'm just going to spray it down. So you just spray it, toss it. It's a lot.
So we've got a question for you about why you wash or rinse the chicken.
Yeah, so, well, I clean it before just because it's handled, and I just want to make sure that it's good to eat. I use, like I said, the poultry wash. I just like my food clean.
Yeah, so the reason for not washing chicken is the risk of spreading the salmonella, but if you're careful with it, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, it's just another step. Just a preventative measure. Okay, so this is just gonna sit. I'm cleaning my veggies. Now I will do the chicken. So the chicken is washed, and I have my panko breadcrumb seasoning mixture, and I just cracked 2 eggs, and I will dip it in here first. Roll up my sleeves. Oh, I need to spray the pan first, because I'll be putting that, where is it, right here? Okay. And I don't know if you guys have seen in the past, but this we got on Amazon. It's just a spray bottle, but it has olive oil in it. So instead of the aerosol cans, it's just a spray. And also on my pan, I have a rack, just so the chicken isn't sitting in its juice. It will be elevated off of the juice so it's more crispy. Okay, so chicken tender, gonna roll it in the egg. let it drip off a bit, and then into the panko mixture.
Thank you for posting.
What is it?
So we posted the link for the Twitch platform because it's better. I posted it on your Instagram.
Oh, awesome.
Feed.
Oh, cool.
It's just a much better view and
Yeah.
closer.
I can explain that, yeah. So, for those of you guys on Instagram, we also have a camera coming down at my working space, so if you want to see more of what I'm doing, you can go on our Twitch that my sister just posted on my Instagram. So we're just getting the chicken.
Oh yeah, got a really nice close-up view watching that panko breadcrumbs go all over that chicken. Mm.
Is your face on the...
Yep.
Yeah.
Dan's in the top right corner there
Dan's in the top right.
for people watching Twitch.
All right, we got a couple questions coming in on Instagram.
Okay.
How do you count the macros with the eggs and breadcrumbs and the olive oil? So I believe the question is how do you take that into
Yeah.
account when you're figuring out your macros?
Sure. So basically, depending on the amount of servings I have, I just divide the amount that I've used. So say I use a cup of panko breadcrumbs, I'll just divide that by 5, and then just use that. So just basically add up all your ingredients you use and divide it by how many servings you have.
We have another question here about the chicken rack. Is the chicken rack from Amazon?
I know, I feel like everything I use is from Amazon. I am not sure, it's actually my mom's, but I am sure you can get one on Amazon. You just want to make sure that it's oven safe.
Oh yes, that is very important. Definitely make sure the rack
Yeah.
is oven safe. Nothing worse than having melted material on the inside of your oven.
Exactly. Or on your food that you
No.
spend
Or on
so
your
much
food.
time shopping for and prepping.
But I mean, plastic food always looks so appetizing in the commercials.
I know, that's crazy what they do to those. They use the those sprays and stuff to make it shiny and still, and it's awful. I have 12 chicken tenders that I'm cooking for 5 meals as well. Because I know a lot of people have a difficult time figuring out how much to buy for the meals. A good way that I kind of started was thinking of if you're going to cook dinner for a family, like a family of 4, and kind of just start from there and figure out if you need to add or subtract anything. But it's not going to come out perfect first, and you have to realize that, and it's just going to be trial and error. And I've been doing this for, I would say I say 5 years, and I still mess up, so it's just always a process.
From Dynamite D, hope you've been doing well.
Thank you. Okay, chicken is almost done. I have about 3 left. Gonna make some room.
Yes, Costco is a great place to pick up large quantities.
Yes, definitely. And BJ's.
And BJ.
Do we have a Costco around here?
I don't think so.
I don't think there's one that's close enough as far as making it worth our while
Yeah.
compared to the other stores that we have close by.
Yeah, because we have what, Sam's Club and BJ's. But I go to Wegmans, as you I'm sure all know. I also have been going to Trader Joe's though.
I would go on.
I like Trader Joe's is good. They have a lot of frozen veggies and like some really good snacks that I like.
Yeah, different.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Dynamite D. We definitely appreciate that shout out.
What was it?
He was just saying, y'all are awesome, and
Thank
sounds like he's
you.
really happy to be here. Getting back to his workout now.
Excellent.
From
Nice.
Steffers in Progress, she just joined and she wanted to know if you could let everybody know again real quick what you're making.
Yeah, definitely. So today I am making chicken tenderloins, and I'm doing a dip in egg in like a panko mix with some seasoning. I'm also doing Japanese sweet potato, and I am doing cauliflower and broccoli. So it's all in the oven, all on 400 degrees. So it's pretty simple. Oh, I have one more chicken. What the heck? Almost forgot about you. Okay, pretty much done. Alright, chicken is ready.
I'm going to shut down the Facebook Live broadcast
It's not working.
It's just not doing what we want it to.
So another thing that I do, which I'm not going to do right now, just because I'm going to talk to you guys, is clean as I go, just to reduce the amount that you have to clean at the end, because that will become annoying.
So we have a question about your everything bagel seasoning. What do you put it on?
I actually used it the other day for chicken. I just, Mom, I just used, yeah, I can grab that.
Everything bagels on
So
chicken.
this is something I got from Trader Joe's. Everything,
What is everything bagel on your mother's?
oh, my mom. So this is everything but the bagel seasoning. It's from Trader Joe's. It is sea salt, garlic, onion, I think sesame seed too. Yeah. So I actually used it the other night on my chicken tenders I cooked too for dinner. I used my oven or my grill pan. I did olive oil and then I just sprinkled this on and it was really good. You can use it for eggs. That's pretty much all that I use it for though. Let's see what. But it's really, oh yeah, it says sprinkle it on whatever you would like to make you feel like you're eating an everything bagel. No, it's really good. It's really good though, and it's cheap. I think it's like $1 something, but it's good stuff. All right, so this was sprayed down with the fruit and veggie wash. I'm just gonna rinse it off. Alright, so I rinsed the veggies. I'm just gonna let this sit just to drain a little bit more near the sink just so it goes down. Okay, so now my sweet potatoes, Japanese sweet potatoes, oriental potatoes, there's so many names for it. So I have them cubed, but I'll just show you guys how I cut them. So this is the remnants of an old one, but I kind of just slice it down, making little slices, then you dice them just like that. Very easy. And then actually, Dan's fiance now, she recommended that if it's tough for you to cut into a potato, wrap it in soaked paper towel and put it in the microwave for about a minute for a medium, right? You said a medium
to large potato.
Medium to large potato. So if it's very difficult to cut, definitely try that. I haven't tried it yet, but I would love to try that because I have a bad shoulder and it would help.
Definitely. Every time I cut
Yeah.
potatoes, I make sure I give them a quick little microwave first and a damp paper towel. It just makes life so much easier.
Definitely.
Definitely one word of caution though, because you are using a damp paper towel. When you go to pull it out of the microwave, be very, very careful you don't burn your hand, because boy will that get pretty toasty.
Alright, so, but these ones were like the last of the potatoes, so they weren't the best picking of the crop, but they will do. So we have our potato. This is olive oil. I'm just going to drizzle it with some olive oil. Then give it a toss. Just tossing it so it coats it all. Whoop. Flying potatoes. Alright, so that should be enough. Just make sure that it's all coated. Maybe that was about like a tablespoon-ish. Okay, so I'm just going to use some kosher salt. Just because this specific potato, the Japanese potato, I love the taste, so it really doesn't need much. So I just sprinkled it with kosher salt, tossing it. And then I think maybe just a little bit more. Okay, so that's done. I'm just going to spray down a pan to put the potatoes on. Okay, so potatoes are good. Just make sure they're evenly spread out on the pan. And I used about 4 medium-sized Japanese potatoes to make 5 meals. Alright, so those are ready. I'm going to pop in the chicken, which I actually looked up the recipe, so this isn't something I created, this is a recipe. But it said about 12 to 15 minutes on 450, but I'm going to do 400 just because I'm cooking other things that need 400, so I'll probably need a little bit longer. But I'm going to pop those in. And then I'm going to put in the potatoes, which the potatoes need about 20 to 30 minutes depending, so we'll check on those. But I will set the timer for 15 minutes and then I'll check everything. Timer. Start. Yep. Jeez, that timer. Okay, so chicken and potatoes are cooking. All that's left is the veggie. Okay, so these are cleaned, rinsed, and they have been dripping. Definitely gonna need a bigger bowl.
I think we're gonna need a bigger bowl. Name that movie.
I don't watch any movies. I have no idea.
Ah, it's a classic.
Really?
That's Jaws. Well, except rather than bowl, they say a boat, but.
Oh. Well, that's a big difference. Okay, so I'm just gonna transfer the veggie into. I'm actually gonna do 2 separate bowls just because there's a lot. Okay, so I'm just gonna, pretty much the same thing as the potato. I'm gonna do some olive oil. I have a tendency to put things away when I still need them. Okay, so drizzled with olive oil, I'm gonna toss them. In 2 separate bowls just because there's not a bowl that's really big enough for all the veggies. For the amount that I used, I did 2 medium-sized heads of broccoli or crowns of broccoli and a big thing of cauliflower. Okay, so I toss those in olive oil and then I'm going to do some kosher salt and some pepper.
Salt and pepper. Simple seasonings, but they go so far.
I know, and you guys can of course use whatever seasonings you want, but I like my plain salt and pepper. Alright, just tossing it so it's evenly spread out through the veggies. I think that should be good. Yeah, okay. So I have another pan. I'm going to spray down with my olive oil. Want to make sure they're spread out so they cook evenly. So pretty. I was trying to look for the purple cauliflower just because it looks better.
It looks better and you got different nutrients.
Exactly.
Different colors.
So yeah, so the reason why I'm doing also cauliflower is just because there's different nutrients in broccoli and cauliflower. And just variety as well.
So here's a fun fact for you about vegetables, fruits, and all that fun stuff. Generally speaking, the color of a vegetable is going to determine what kind of micronutrients it has available to it. So there's a reason why we like to use the expression, eat the rainbow.
Yes.
If you have a very colorful diet, chances are you're going to cover most of your micronutrient bases and never have to worry about it. So we've got a quick question for you from Mrs. Jessica Harris. Do you still count macros? I know you quit a while ago. Yeah. If you don't, what was your count prior?
So I did take a break because it does become overwhelming. And I actually am counting them again, but I haven't been counting them for the past couple days. just because sometimes you need a break, and I actually took a couple days off the gym too because I have a shoulder injury. I kind of needed to reset. So I will be counting them again. My specific count, I don't really want to say that because it varies depending on your activity level. It just depends. It depends on a lot. So I would be afraid that if I would say it, then people would just do that specific count that I have been doing. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, I know, like, I hate when people, well, I don't hate, but I don't really agree when people post them because I just don't want people to use that specific count.
Yeah. So,
because it varies.
It really is. It's a very personal thing.
Yeah.
Everybody's body is going to respond a little bit differently to different types of dietary constraints and contradictions. Generally speaking, if you are relatively active and healthy, or if you really are looking to fuel a workout, you do want to favor a higher carbohydrate count in your diet. Carbs are really efficient fuels. If you're trying to build mass, muscle size, you need to make sure that you're not shortchanging yourself on protein. But that being said, you also need to make sure you're not shortchanging yourself on carbohydrates either, because the body does need calories to build muscle. Keeping that in mind, there are good ratios to kind of use as a ballpark for when you start, but you never want to use that as a hard fixed number. You want to start to adjust up and down based on how your body's responding to that macro count.
Yep.
We have a question. Do you base your vegetable choices based on seasonality? And I don't think they mean the ability to season. I think they mean
like what's in season. No, I get it. I do not. I don't. I basically just stick with the basics, just broccoli, cauliflower, beans, asparagus, Brussels sprouts. That's pretty much it.
Now that being
just for meal prep,
said,
though.
if you do try to get your vegetables in season, what you are going to find is that it's going to make it a lot less expensive. One of the biggest things I always get when people talk to me about nutrition is they say, "Oh, it's so expensive to eat healthy."
Yeah.
I say, well, it can be. It absolutely can be, but I mean, it can also be expensive to eat unhealthy. And if you're ordering out food every single night of the week, that gets really expensive too.
Exactly.
What it is you have to find your cost efficiencies. You have to figure out if it makes sense for you to use your time to buy things that have already been deboned, or to buy things that have been pre-seasoned, or do you have the time to do all that? What is your time commitment to your meal preparation? What is your budget? You have to take all those things into consideration when you start figuring out how to set your diet up and not break your bank.
Exactly. I see some questions, I think.
I work out 6 days a week, strength train, and then I do 2 days of HIIT and 2 days cardio.
Woo!
I don't feel that I'm seeing much results. Well, let me ask you, Mrs. Jessica Harris, with regards to that, what results are you going for? What is it you're trying to get out of your workouts? Are you trying to add mass? Are you trying to improve your stamina? Are you trying to strictly lose fat content in your body? Give me a little bit more to work with, and I think I can give you a much more specific answer. Okay, so you're trying to tone. So with that in mind, you may actually be doing too much in a situation like that. Because believe it or not, you can absolutely overdo it, and the old adage of keeping it simple or less can be more definitely rings true for that. I'd say for anybody who's looking to tone or fat loss or things like that, you want to have a good solid strength program that operates off of the principle, hold on, brain train just derailed for a second, progressive overload.
Yes,
there we
progressive
go.
overload.
Because what ends up happening is we get into these routines where we feel very comfortable with certain exercises, certain weights, certain reps, certain set schemes, and our body starts to adjust to that. Your body is always going to try and find the path of least resistance, the way in which it can expend as little energy as possible and still produce maximum results. This is a survival mechanism. So a long time ago, people used to tout the phrase, "Oh, muscle confusion," and make sure you change your workups. Well, they were wrong in the way they presented the information, but they were right because they hit on some truths that they didn't even realize. You have to give your body new stimuli to overcome. Granted, the more advanced you are with weightlifting, the more you're going to require of a given stimuli before you can adjust to it and overcome it. But with that in mind, you want to definitely make sure you're recording your strength workouts and sticking to something that feels challenging but allows you to work on the nuances for about 4 to 6 weeks. And then at that point, you're going to want to pick something, I'd argue to say, completely new and different, outside of your exercise comfort zone. So let's say you're really good at barbell back squatting, and you've been doing that for years, you've hit a point where you feel like you can't really get any better with it. Well, shift it up completely. If you've never done front squats, start throwing those into your routine. Take it as a challenge to learn a new exercise, to give your muscles a different type of stimuli to overcome, and I guarantee you will absolutely start to see those gains again that you haven't been seeing. Sometimes it takes just reevaluating what you're doing and figuring out ways you can change it or add in new things. I hope I didn't completely lose you with that ridiculous amount of information I threw out there, but the short answer to your question, a good, strong, progressive resistance training program, couple that with, you want to keep up your cardio and your HIIT training because that is really good for stamina and burning excess calories. But from that point on, don't get too crazy about it. Just make sure your strength training definitely is progressing. Yep. Because if that starts to plateau and flounder, you're not going to see the kind of muscle gain and fat loss that you're looking for. Because if you build bigger muscles, you're going to burn more calories just to maintain and keep that musculature. I hope that answered your question. So, where are we at? We're pretty good on meal prep. We're just hanging out, right?
We have everything in the oven right now. I did the chicken, I did the veggies, and I did the potato. So those are all in the oven at 400 degrees. I'm basically just waiting.
So
just waiting.
At this point now, why don't we actually crack into our topic of discussion for today, relationships with food. Yeah. So do you want me to move the camera so it's not just like me? Well, for those of you on Instagram, does it bother you that you can only hear my disembodied voice? Because if you're fine with it, then I'm fine with it. Okay, otherwise, I can definitely move myself somewhere else, or we can move the camera, set some things up. This is our first official episode, so we are still working out the bugs on where we want to position everything, what's going to work best for you guys.
Because there's also a few other cameras too, so it's not just my phone.
Yeah. So, in regards to relationships with food, in life we are surrounded by relationships. It makes up what we do. The relationships we have with people, the relationships we have with animals, our environment, objects, and even the relationship that we have with ourselves. So, when we think about that, relationships in this respect, it's how we interact with the world, it's how the world interacts with us. So let's take a minute to just kind of look about how we interact with food and how food interacts with us. As a society, our relationship with food has become very, very sick, and it has been for a long time. We developed artificial sweeteners to combat the fact that we were consuming massive quantities of soft drink beverages, and we created these artificial sweeteners to be like, oh, it's okay to drink this processed crap because now we've taken the sugar out of it. Well, that's like a terrible way to look at it. So I'm going to continue to drink something that isn't good for me because I'm not going to gain weight from it because it's got these artificial sweeteners in it. Now, another really good example is we look at the food pyramid from not too long ago. Dairy products and breads, they used to make up the majority of it, and they would tell us, hey, you need to have like 12 servings of breads in your body daily. Now, years later, as we've discovered more about food science and nutrition, we come to understand that that's not exactly the healthiest thing. And it had to do with a lot of marketing strategies and just trying to sell more dairy products and grain products to Americans in general. It had nothing to do with the concern of people's health. It was just trying to increase the bottom line. But in their defense at that time, they didn't really understand the impacts that it would have on our society's health as a whole. Now, we talked about the marketing, and we want to take that a little bit further because the fitness industry is absolutely rife with people who want to market these quick solutions, these diet pills, or these one-size-fit-all diets that, you know, are supposed to make you lose 20 pounds in 6 hours. And I shake my head when I see those things because those directly feed into this sickness that we have with how we look at food. We start to punish ourselves just for the food choices we make, or we, you know, think, hey, well, I ate pizza last night, so I'm just going to skip all of my meals today. And I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
I can't
It's
even
so
begin to talk
annoying.
about how unhealthy
Yeah,
that is
it's
for
just
your
frustrating.
body,
Yep.
but your mind too.
Yep.
You know, everybody has this desired image of themselves, and we feed into that insecurity with the marketing strategies of today. And it's unfortunate that it works so well because money's going to talk at the end of the day. But before I get, you know, too high and mighty about how I feel about all that, just kind of moving on a little bit more, I also get it. You know, we're tired, we're sick, we're desperate. We want to reach out for that person who says, hey, I can change your life in 6 days.
Answers, yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're willing to believe it. That's how desperate we are for that change. So I want to ask just a series of questions out there. You don't have to answer, nothing like that, but I want to know, first and foremost, have you ever said to yourself after looking in a mirror, boy, I need to go on a diet? Have you ever thought, I should order the diet soda because I'm watching my figure? Have you ever had a bad day and then picked up comfort food on your way home as a way to cope with that stress? Have you ever eaten to excess and been in discomfort or even pain? Have you ever rewarded yourself for something good with food? Have you ever punished yourself with food restriction? Have you ever used the words good or bad to describe food, not in relation to its quality or freshness? Have you ever kept very strict rules about eating? Have you ever been obsessed over numbers and measurements in regard to food? Has food ever made or broken your day? And have you ever hopped on the scale and had your day broken or made based on the number you've seen? If you answered yes or had to think about any of these questions to the point where, yeah, I think I've done that before, chances are your relationship with food isn't as healthy as you might believe it is. Now, that being said, I'm a professional in this field, and there are absolutely still areas that I need to work on myself. And in general, we're never going to be perfect at this. There's always something you can work on to be a little bit better. You can always do work internally, externally, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. There's so many different nuances to what we are as creatures and how we can kind of start to, I don't know, figure out the puzzle that is us and just live with ourselves and be a lot more comfortable with who we are. So what I kind of want to talk about next is my own personal relationship with food and my story, where I've kind of come from and where I am right now. So for those of you that don't know me or don't follow me on social media, I was a very, very heavy-set youth. I think when I was probably around 13 or 14 years old, I was about 275 pounds, and it was not a healthy 275 pounds by any stretch of the imagination. I would oftentimes eat macaroni and cheese directly from the box as a meal. So you know where it says serving size, you know, serves a family of 4. Well, I was a family of 4 apparently, because I would just chow down that as a snack. Rice-a-roni straight from the box, I would eat that as a meal. Just a lot of these processed carbohydrates. I don't think I discovered what a vegetable was until I was in my early adulthood. Like, even through college, the only vegetables I ate were the ones that were snuck into my food by the cafeteria. It wasn't something that I really paid much attention to, and because I had lived that way for so long, it really hadn't dawned on me that maybe I could feel better inside. Now, that being said, I did drop a ton of weight my very last year of high school moving into college, and I've been on a weight loss, healthy, fit journey since then. I mean, it's brought me to where I am now. I'm a personal trainer. My life is all about helping other people kind of figure themselves out, get stronger, and take care of themselves better. But the nutrition that I lived with was all I knew. It was what I was taught. And in the defense of, people around me, my caretakers, and the knowledge at the time, the knowledge wasn't there. It was so much easier to just eat all this processed stuff and not even think twice about it because we didn't know. Now, fast forward, I've started to eat a lot more vegetables. I mean, my diet now is very well-rounded. I look at food as fuel. I don't go to the store and buy personal pizza or ice cream anymore if I've had a bad day. Actually, if I've had a bad day, what I do now is I go and I get a workout on, or I do some yoga or meditation, something that allows me to focus on the stress itself and not just mask it with something like food. But since overhauling my diet, I say overhaul, it's been very gradual over a very long period of time, I've started to notice things just internally, like my insides feel a lot better. Without going into too much detail and information, a lot more things about my routines are regular. I don't have this intestinal discomfort anymore. And now when I do actually eat like heavily processed foods or foods that you wouldn't necessarily associate with having a really good nutrient-dense profile, I feel that. I feel that the entire next day.
Yeah.
And all I can say to myself is, holy crap, this used to be my status quo. This was the state of how I felt all the time, but because I was so used to feeling like crap, it just never registered.
Right.
So that's where I've kind of come from and where I'm at now. Danielle, I think you've actually experienced a little bit of the opposite side of the spectrum, right? Like
I would say the complete opposite.
Uber healthy to the point of obsession.
Yes, exactly. So I grew up in a household where my dad was very into sports. He was actually a semi-pro softball player, so he already had a great education and knowledge about nutrition and just about sports and just being active and lifting and all that stuff. My mom was also very active as well. She always cooked us very healthy dinners, and I was just always surrounded by a healthy lifestyle. So I grew up knowing everything that I kind of needed to know. So I played sports when I was young. I got into college and I played soccer my freshman year, and then I transitioned into lifting because I only played my freshman year. Then that is kind of when I introduced myself to meal prepping. And meal prepping was kind of began my bad relationship with food. It became an obsession for me. I didn't really know what balance was. It was just all or nothing for me. I would never eat ice cream. I just would never eat the bad stuff. I would always eat the good stuff. Even I remember one time we went out in college and we came home, and of course you get like the drunk munchies, but I would have like cucumbers because it was
wow.
insane. I just never knew. It was just like I said, it was all or nothing. So I was very lean as well. I would go to the gym and I would do about 45 minutes of very intense cardio on the Stairmaster, and then I would just go into lifting. I maintained a very low body fat percentage, and it just wasn't healthy. Like I would get anxiety going out to dinner and stuff, and just going out in general and just living. And it just kind of came to a point where I was like, what am I doing? I was like, this isn't sustainable, and also my goal changed. I just wanted to gain weight and I wanted to gain muscle, and in the state that I was in, it just was impossible to do that. So I think in the past few years, it's just been a slow transition into figuring out that balance, and I've come a long way. So meal prepping has been always there for me, but now I have a healthier relationship with food, I would say. So that's my story, kind of.
So I'm actually really glad that you and I actually kind of represent the polar. Careful, Riley.
My dog is tripping over.
Oh no!
Camilla!
There you go, buddy.
Camilla!
I know you guys can't see it from your angle, but we've got cords running everywhere in the background, and poor Riley's trying to navigate around.
you.
But I think it's kind of cool that you and I definitely represent like the polar opposites of an unhealthy relationship with food. You know, you can have an unhealthy relationship with food in a very negative way, and then you can also have an unhealthy relationship with food in a very positive way, where you're so conscious of it that it becomes an obsession and it starts to rule and run your life.
And that's exactly what happened.
So kind of branching off from there, what I want to just kind of give you guys a little bit to go with some bullet points, things you can start to work on yourself at home just to evaluate and help you find a better place with how you feel about food and interact with it. So the first one, it's kind of vague, it's pretty broad, is to eat mindfully. Now, this means a couple different things. It's a simple concept, but it's not easy to truly understand. To eat mindfully is to listen to your body and its biological cues for food. It's really good at communicating. We're just shite listeners. I mean, we've stopped listening to our body a long time ago. From a biological standpoint, your body's got sensors, and they communicate with your gut and your brain. They alert you when your stomach has reached capacity, and they also let you know when your nutritional needs haven't been met yet. For anybody out there who's ever eaten, Chinese food, and then a half hour later feel like they're famished all over again, this is my best example of that nutrition sensor. So you've eaten a bunch, you've tripped that sensor in your stomach that says, hey, I'm full, but then all of a sudden your brain and your gut's starting to realize, but I don't feel like I've had my nutrition met, like there's still something missing. So it sends that hungry signal again, but you're already at capacity. So at that point, you start to overeat, and that's one of the ways overeating becomes very easy. Another theory behind eating mindfully is to slow down when you eat. If we're always in a rush to eat, a lot of times we'll end up overeating without even realizing it. Victoria, maybe you can throw in a little bit more science here, but I think it takes like 7 or 8 minutes from the time you put food into your mouth for your brain to then receive the signal that the food is in your stomach. So if you're woofing through a meal and you get to the end of it, and then all of a sudden you're getting these pains like your stomach is full, it's because you actually filled it to capacity before that sensor could even trip.
I guess maybe spend about 20 or so minutes after you finish a meal. Give yourself time to realize that you're full as well. And there are specific hormones, like you said, and these days people are starting to either ignore them or they're becoming much different the way that they're released in our systems because we're overeating. So it does take a decent amount of time to get your body back into what hunger actually is.
Absolutely. So this is another good one for eating mindfully, and this helped me immensely. One of my other biggest things growing up is I would just grab packages of food, I would retreat to my cave, and I would just eat it straight out of the package. Like, sleeve of Pringles, just down, done, gone. So to eat mindfully, you want to make sure that you don't eat directly from packaging. Always serve yourself from the packaging. Go do what you're doing, eat your snack, eat your meal, whatever it is, and then wait. Decide. If you're still hungry at that point, okay, go. Get yourself another serving, but give yourself that time, give yourself that opportunity to register that an activity has changed.
And it's also about to be mindful while you're eating is to be sitting at the table and like paying attention to how many bites you're taking and how the food tastes, and make sure that you're chewing your food enough. That's another thing. If you chew more often with each bite, then you're being more mindful and you're giving your body more time to sense the fullness.
Yeah, absolutely. So another good tip for some people, I know this can be tough because I definitely used to do this a lot. I would grab my food, I would go and I would sit down and continue watching the TV show that I was watching. Now, with streaming services these days, I mean, hello, we're streaming right now, you can pretty much have any piece of mindless entertainment at your disposal and right in front of your face. So now, if you're eating while doing that, well, guess what? Your brain's energy is now partitioned to this mindless activity, and it's going to be that much easier to ignore the biological signals that you're going to be sent. So that's kind of our wrap up on eating mindfully. and how that can kind of be beneficial and help you guys out. Anybody else have anything else they want to add to the eating mindful category?
I think that for people that don't particularly understand what that means, because I know that when that was first introduced to me, I had no idea what mindful eating meant at all. I would start by trying to stay away from screens, like Dan just said. Start there and be present while you're eating, and also try to pay attention to your bites. I think that's a good place to start, and then you might start to understand what that actually means.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, sorry. A big thing for me that I realized I was doing recently was not allowing myself enough time in the morning to cook breakfast. So I would just be very rushed, and I would take it to go, and I would eat it while I was driving, or I would eat it in the while I got to work. But I just think allowing that time in the morning, also just to set the tone for the day, is really important. Like it's very important, and you should wake up at least 20 minutes earlier or something. 10. Just allow yourself more time.
Yeah.
Start with 10, and if that's not enough, go to 15. If that's not enough, go to 20.
It's also important to set the tone for the day, instead of just being rushed and...
No, I absolutely agree.
But I caught myself doing that recently. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, I need to chill.
So here's another fun thing for our next category. One other way you can help yourself improve with your relationship with food is to eat everything. Now, that may sound a little bit odd at first, but let me continue. Let me explain. So, food is not inherently good or bad. Our feelings towards it is how we really register good or bad. Now, foods that we tend to think, oh, that's bad for you, don't eat it, or oh, this is so bad for me, I shouldn't be eating it. Well, listen, life is short. Enjoy yourself the opportunity. Allow yourself the opportunity to enjoy those foods that you do like. But here's the kicker. Moderation. Practice eating those things in moderation. If suddenly you're having a treat every night of the week, well, guess what? That's not a treat anymore. That's now become part of your diet. So you want to take the good food and the bad food and not throw it into any of those categories. If you want to eat something, eat it. Enjoy it. Don't feel guilty about it. Don't punish yourself for eating it. Don't say, oh, I'm gonna do 100 miles of running on the treadmill tomorrow because I ate this today. Allow yourself the freedom to eat it and enjoy it. But remember to be mindful and practice moderation.
Absolutely.
A big thing that I used to do, because I was so extreme, is I wasn't allowing myself to have those foods that I craved. So I would just like a binge. I would have these huge binges.
Yes.
It didn't happen too often, but because I didn't allow myself to satiate that craving, I would go crazy. So it's important, but you also have to figure out what moderation is. I think that's really important too.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking with the dietitians I work with at work the other day, and they're saying that everybody gets cravings, even if it's an unhealthy one, and they're just kind of get it over with and do it.
Exactly.
Really
you have to. It's not going to go away.
You won't think of it anymore. You won't let it consume your thoughts.
You're gonna become obsessed
small portion
over that craving if you don't
be
do
mindful,
about it.
right? While you eat it, taste the full thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Because what is the craving? It's a couple things. It's your palate determining that it wants or needs something, but that too is a biological response. That's your body saying, hey, there's something that I need you to figure out what it is and give it to me.
Exactly.
The next category that's really big is timing. Timing is super important, and it's really important in a couple different ways. Have you ever gone grocery shopping hungry before?
Oh my gosh, I did that last night. And I said to myself in there, I was like, this is a bad idea.
It's so much easier to make decisions like buying all of the snack foods when you're hungry. Because, quite frankly, you're not, when you're hungry, your brain starts to shift into a different mode, a different type of thinking. It's not clear. It's not sharp. You're actually thinking with your stomach, believe it or not. So when we do that, you'll buy things that you probably otherwise wouldn't end up bringing home with you. The other thing too is, if you are a person that practices fasting, either intentionally or unintentionally, getting yourself to a point where you can be really hungry is also a lot easier to overeat when you do inevitably have your next meal.
Yes.
So if you are prone to going long periods of time without eating, now again, I'm not recommending you go long periods of time without eating, because you should be eating relatively regularly and feeding yourself when you're hungry. But, you know, of course, there's lots of different ways to have food. But if you get to the point where you are hungry, recognize that. Because when you start eating your next meal, if you are hungry and you start to just go into it, you're going to be that much more apt to overeat or get yourself into an unfortunate situation. Next category, eating when you're hungry. I mean, that kind of ties into what we were just talking about. Like, if you're hungry, eat. You know, don't force yourself to not eat.
Yeah.
But that also goes back into timing with knowing to pack yourself snacks that will help keep you fueled. Which actually brings me to the next topic, which is great. Understanding the difference between a snack and a treat. A treat is not a snack. Snacks are fuel. Treats are something that you're having specifically to satiate the palate. If you start to look at a treat as fuel, well, then it starts to have a regular place in your diet. And again, we've already discussed that if a treat becomes regular, it's no longer a treat at that point.
Right.
It's straight up become a part of the diet. Do you tend to binge certain foods? Well, if you know you have a tendency to binge on a specific type of food, don't buy it. Don't keep it around.
Right.
If you know it's going to be a problem for you, try to separate yourself from it with as many aspects that you can control.
Like cleaning your kitchen.
Cleaning your kitchen, which happens to be one of the very first lessons we cover in our Clean and Lean Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So we are getting a little bit close to time here. We've got a couple other really great things that I would love to cover in here, but these are things that we can also cover in the Clean and Lean Challenge and in future episodes. But just real quickly, you want to allow yourself to be happy with food, the food you decide to eat. Don't punish yourself. Don't be upset. You know, don't make up for meals. Don't eliminate meals because of something you ate before. Just allow yourself to be okay with your choices, even if they aren't the most healthy choices. Because at the end of the day, your mental health towards food is going to carry so much more weight and impact than your physical relationship with food will ever have. And that brings us to our last topic and point, understanding that a diet is what you eat, and it is not something that you use as a temporary solution. If your diet temporarily changes to something that is a lot healthier, and you see results with it, but then immediately shift your diet back to something that is unhealthy, you are going to shift back. Your body is always going to reflect your diet, whether or not your diet is healthy or unhealthy. So with that in mind, understand that you don't just go on a diet, you modify your diet, you change your diet, you add things to it, you take things away from it. So with that in mind, we're going to talk about the Clean and Lean Challenge, but before we do that, let's let Danielle finish off showcasing her wonderful meal prep for the week.
Yes. So it's all done. So I did it at, let me just give that to you. I'll do it after. So I did it all at 400, and that took about an hour, not even.
Yep.
Just about.
Yeah.
I did some prep work before, but I mean, it's done. So one of the things I was doing as we were talking is I noticed that the veggie and the potato weren't really getting crispy like I hoped. So I did put it on broil for about 5 minutes, and it got crispy. So yeah, that's that. And then the chicken has been sitting. You don't want to, I don't think I'm going to cut it. Just you want to let it sit so it just keeps those juices absorbed, and it won't get dry. So that's pretty much it. Very simple.
All right.
Very simple.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we did talk about it a little bit last week.
Yeah.
The Clean and Lean Challenge. What it is it's a 6-week journey in which every day we deliver some content to your phone via the app that we use. And what it allows you to do is start to take a little bit more control over your diet. The first step is we go through a kitchen cleanup where we try to eliminate as many of the processed foods as we can Because the real point of the challenge is to spend 6 weeks eating whole foods, or as close to whole foods as you can get, to kind of take stock of where's my diet at right now? How do I feel after 6 weeks of eating whole foods? And what changes have I noticed in my body over those 6 weeks? Every time we've run this challenge, we've had great success. Everybody who sticks to the plan and really gives it a good, honest try to change the way in which they eat, they're never disappointed with the outcome and the results. I can tell you definitely, there's probably a couple people in here that are watching right now that have done our Clean and Lean Challenge in the past, and it's absolutely helped change their lives for the better. But through that 6-week journey, we'll be keeping in contact with you through the app. If somebody stops checking in, we'll actually kind of reach out to them to give you that, I don't want to say hand-holding, because we're not going to be holding your hand.
Just
because
accountability.
the other thing is you have to be accountable to yourself,
Yeah.
but having other people there who you can kind of commiserate with through the experience, or having coaches there who have gone through the transformation and changes themselves, it does help give you that sense of security and just having an expert there with you. So we keep in contact with you through the app. We keep in contact with you through our private Facebook group, which, by the way, once you join the private Facebook group and you become kind of a part of this, you'll continue to get all the great information and content that we deliver to that group on a daily basis. Other than that, the challenge is really simple. It is just 6 weeks of eating clean, whole foods. There is also an exercise and mobility component that's added to it. It's optional though. It's just something for people who want to move a little bit more, or if you work at a desk long hours and you've been noticing that your hips are really tight, or you've got this nagging lower back pain. It's just ways to kind of help you also move your body a little bit more and just feel better in general. The new thing that we're adding in this time around, though, that we haven't done before, we are actually going to also provide you with a grocery list, a meal plan, and a recipe guide for this particular challenge. It doesn't mean you have to follow that meal plan. It's just that our very lovely Victoria has painstakingly put together a meal plan that is wholesome, nutritious, and still fits within the confines of the challenge. So if you absolutely had no idea where to start, you've got this blueprint, this rubric written out right for you. So it's as easy as just following directions. And of course, it's simple, not easy. It's simple to follow directions, but it isn't easy to just change your life overnight. So the other thing to keep in mind, if you do decide to pursue this challenge with us, keep your mind open and understand that the changes that you gain from this may not be extreme, but they will start the building blocks for the little changes that we need to do day to day. Because what ends up happening is, 5 years from now, all the little habits that you changed from now to that 5-year point are going to build into a crescendo. You can never look so far ahead that you forget to appreciate all the little steps that you've taken. Because quite frankly, if you're going to hike a mountain, you don't just start at the top. You can't. You have to start with every single step that has led to you getting to the top of that mountain. Every really difficult trail that you passed, every scramble, every rock, every route that tripped you, you have to look back and appreciate those obstacles that you overcame. So what we are going to do is I will post the link here in the Instagram feed. I'll put it up on our open Facebook group. I'll attach it in the notes to the YouTube. So basically, whatever platform you're watching on, I'll make sure that you have a link so you can sign up for this. The other thing is, if you do want to sign up, today through Monday, for everybody that's watching this broadcast or for anybody that ends up catching the rerun of it, we are providing a special coupon code that you can put in when you're setting your order to give you $20 off of the price. So that coupon is going to be Sunday Fun Day, one word. I will also write that coupon code out as well. But again, if you wait till Tuesday morning, unfortunately that coupon will no longer be available and it will jump up to its full retail price. So with that in mind, I'm going to leave the floor open to Danielle and Victoria if they want to add in anything to what I've said. And as well, for everybody who's watching, if you've got any questions that you want to ask us before we end the stream, please start asking now. We'd love to do some Q&A with you guys and see if we can help you out.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great description.
It was.
I don't know if I have anything to add to that.
Right, it's just a kind of like a building block to start
No, it's
changing
great.
your entire lifestyle.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good challenge. It really is.
It's live video ended.
What? Oh my gosh, it just did end on
Yeah.
Instagram. Why did it end?
Probably because it was an hour. Maybe that's as long as you
Oh
can go.
no.
It was an exact hour.
Oh no!
Oh shit. I'll go back on.
That's too funny.
That's crazy.
Hold on.
So for those of you who are watching on YouTube
Yeah.
or Twitch, we are still in fact live. Definitely apologize to anybody who was on Instagram watching it. We'll try and get that up and running in a second again for you.
Alright.
Oops.
Okay, we're back, guys.
Definitely, we caught all of what you said, though.
No, yeah. Okay. Let's see. I don't think anyone's jumping on. No.
We'll give it a minute, see if some people come back.
Alright, a few people are. Alright, sorry everyone. I think it ends after an hour. It just kind of. Yeah, okay, it's working.
We'll have to definitely keep that in
Yeah,
mind for,
so
for future
I
broadcasts
guess
and streams.
lives have an hour limit. So. But we're back.
It's funny.
But I think that's it, right? That's
That
pretty
is
much
it.
Yeah. That's it, guys.
So if you have any questions watching right now, please feel
Yeah.
free to ask us some questions now while we
Mhm.
get you the links for everything.
Yep. Pretty much it.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. That's our show.
So, challenge starts on Friday.
So yes, the
Oh, yeah,
challenge.
there we go. That's what we can cover.
Yeah, so the challenge will be starting on Friday, and there's 3 days? So there's 3 preparation days where you're going to go through your kitchen and clean it out and kind of just prepare yourself with the resources and everything to start the challenge, ask us questions, and yeah, I think that's it. So.
And the last day to sign up?
Last day to
last
sign up will be Thursday midnight.
All
You
right.
cannot sign up after Thursday midnight.
So they have until now to Thursday midnight.
Yes.
And then you can also use that coupon code.
And you can use the coupon code Sunday Fun Day. It'll give you a $20 discount.
But yeah, thank you guys for watching. That was fun. If
Doesn't
you
look
guys
like
have
we've got
any
any
more
questions.
I don't think so.
We'll keep it live for another 60 seconds,
Okay.
just in case there's somebody sneaking in with a question.
Cuckoo.
All right. Well, hey,
Good?
thanks very much, and
All right.
All right.
have an awesome day.